Hello everybody and welcome back to beautiful Belgium. We are here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, commonly known as Spa, famously on the FIA Formula One World Championship calendar. Very tricky circuit, lots of undulation change, a mix between slow and fast corners, and lots to look forward to. Is pretty much a guarantee. Of course, we are here for round 5 of the virtual racing compound Porsche Super Cup. And the Porsches are known for having downforce when they need it, but then unexpectedly breaking loose, with them being, of course, rear-engined, rear-wheel drive. There's a lot of weight over that rear axle, and mid-corner, you push slightly too hard, you'll find yourself pointing the wrong way at the halfway point in the season. So still got lots to look forward to. The championship is getting ever closer. We'll get the points up on screen towards the end of the race, just to see how everybody stands going into what will be round 6 of the championship. But with a 15-minute sprint race and a 25-minute feature race on the way as per the usual, we will very shortly have some action brought to you. So the drivers taking to the circuit, getting ready for the first race of the evening. Qualifying completed, and it was close as ever. The time's up on screen now. Peter Plastow takes pole position, exactly a 10th behind, and alongside him on the grid is Timothy van der Broek. Then it's Joseph Skulj and Matt Forrest. Then it's Gaston Maceroni, Chris Roberts, Craig Thompson, and Remko Markiw. Then it's Javier Perna, Ari Sherwood, as well as Chris Pio and Nicolas Cucatto rounding out the top 12. One more driver on the grid, and it's Martin de Jong not setting a time. In qualifying, you can see the iRacing Porsche 911 safety car leaving the grid, bringing with it the 13 cars that make up the grid here this evening. And everybody's just doing what they can to get some heat into the tyres, heat into the brakes, getting ready for the race on the way. So coming through the bus stop now, a lot of drivers would expect to punch the throttle now, but we are using the old pitch straight. So going across what would be the modern starting position, a lot of drivers desperate trying to get by. Lots of new liveries on the grid as well, which is great to see. They will go round the hairpin, and Pete being on the inside, you'd expect him to punch the throttle at the earliest opportunity. So waiting to go racing, which we do now. Pete has put his foot to the floor and he's had a fairly good start. Not too far adrift is Timothy van der Broek. Joseph Skulj looking to maintain that third place, which he does. Beautiful livery on that car, up through Rouge and Radion. And then all over the exit curb goes Joseph. Pete Plastow is still in the lead, but in the draft behind now is Timothy van der Broek. Is he going to go for a move in towards the chicane for the first time? Who's going to be later on the brakes? Lots of chopping and changing in the background. Pete stays in front, and now you can see Gaston Maceroni in the virtual racing machine. Grabs the apex, through he goes, and maintains at that 5th place. Craig Thompson in the background deciding whether to go forward or backward at the moment. The WPR racing machine of Remko Markiw sat there in 8th place. And it's now just seeing who can settle into those places. You can see in the background as well, Ari Sherwood under pressure from Javier Perna. But at the moment, it's still Pete Plastow leading the way, very close to the wall and very wide there. Timothy van der Broek trying to maximise the exit. Matt Forrest up into 3rd place now, getting past Joseph Skulj. And all over the exit he goes. Clearly lost the tail end of the car. Did what he could to save it by locking the brakes to try and make the car's trajectory as predictable as possible. But right the way down into 11th place. An early mistake from Matt Forrest, down 7 places now. Big winner from that. Martin de Jong up 3 places from where he started in the Stage 1 racing machine, but it's still Pete Plastow leading the way from Timothy van der Broek. No longer with the attentions of Matt Forrest behind, and in towards the tyres goes Timothy van der Broek, losing the tail end of the car. And that has put him in the gravel and at the bottom of the order. Nicolas Cucatto clearly recovering from an early mistake. But 2 cars in the space of 2 corners, losing the tail end of the car and tumbling down from the top of the order right the way down to the bottom. So now Pete Plastow has been gifted a 1.4 second lead up at the head of affairs after only 1 lap. Through the bus stop we go for the first time. Joseph Skulj, no real attack from behind, so he can stay there and do what he can about making inroads on Pete Plastow's lead. Gaston Maceroni rounding out your podium at the moment. There's contact in the background, but then we get back to the 2 VRC cars of Chris Roberts and Craig Thompson's. Undoubtedly will be working together to try and work their way on towards the podium. Remko Barlow sat there in 6th. Harry Sherwood looking up the inside in towards the apex. Does he catch the wall? No, he doesn't. He gets a good rotation of the car and a good exit, and that does mean Harry Sherwood up into 6th place, up 4 places from where he started. So now heading up towards the chicane at the end of the Camel Straight, almost 3 wide. Matthew Forrest up the inside, Harry Sherwood towards the apex. Matt turns in towards the apex and does make contact with the number 3 of Harry Sherwood. Harry's left sat there in the grass, a car avoiding, I think that was his teammate, yes it was, Chris Pio, rallying the car through the escape road, getting rid of the slowdown penalty, but it kept him out of any sort of danger. So Chris Pio now down in 10th place. Peter Plastow still 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds to the good over Josef Schools. And then we have Gaston Messeroni in 3rd. Chris Roberts still in 4th. Craig Thompson dropped a little bit back from his teammate, down in 5th. Closest cars we've got on the circuit at the moment. You can see Martin de Jong in the background under pressure. Or trying to pile the pressure on, pardon me, to Javier Pernat, newcomer to the championship. In that Tag Heuer livery, then in towards the double right-hander. And at the moment, Javier is driving a very, very good defensive drive on lap 2 of the race. So now, just over 5 minutes of the race remaining. Here is Martin de Jong through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Using all of the curve, the car flicks one way then the other and pirouetting down the Armco barrier. Car's coming. He does manage to get the car rotated back around and then patiently waits for Chris Pio to work his way by. And then continues on, but very little damage thankfully sustained onto that car, but a lot of positions lost. Down in 11th place, you can see the gains and the losses on the left-hand side of your screen. The only person not to lose or gain a position, Peter Plastow, our leader, still 1.3 seconds to the good, make that 1.5 now at the head of affairs. Very well controlled, very well driven race from Pete so far. Josef Schools still sat there in 2nd place, Gaston Messeroni in 3rd, and then, as per the usual, Chris Roberts and Craig Thompson, 4th and 5th. The pair of those two have been sort of following each other around for the most part throughout this race. Remko Barlow in 6th. Javier Pernat sat there in 7th place. A good debut performance from himself. So heading on to the final lap of the race now is Pete Plastow, still leading the way. 1.5 seconds is the lead gap. Remained the same throughout most of the race. Matthew Forrest looking to pick up a few final places. You can see the damage aboard that car, thanks to an earlier incident. But Matthew Forrest still sat there in 8th place, trying to make that 7th. And Javier Pernat, we've already seen his defensive aptitude throughout the race. And all he has to do is last one more lap, albeit with Matthew Forrest behind. Of course, Sunday GT Masters Season 2 champion. It's no mean feat to keep Matt Forrest behind you. But you can see the white flag being waved by the trackside marshal. Through Eau Rouge, over the top of Raidillon, and down the Camel Straight once again. In the background is Nicolas Cucatto within a second, so don't rule him out for a couple of late positional changes. Going defensive in towards the chicane goes Javier Pernat, leaving enough room on the outside for Matthew Forrest. Very good driving between the pair of them, but Javier still remains in 7th place. And down towards the right-hand hairpin. Who is going to come out on top of this battle? So still nose to tail through Piff Paff. A lock up there from Javier Pernat. Has that forced him wide? Yes, it has. It left the door open for Matthew Forrest. He went up the inside, secured the position around the outside, and all he now has to do is last this final sector and claim 7th place on the final lap of the race. And through Blanchemont, in towards the bus stop for the final time comes Pete Plastow. And this will be another win for him to add to his tally this season. Through the final corner he goes. And does the classification stop here? No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. That's my mistake there. Pete Plastow crosses the line, takes the win. Josef Schools finishes in 2nd place. Gaston Messeroni coming towards the line, hounded by Chris Roberts in the closing stages. And it's Craig Thompson just ahead of Remko Barlow. And through the final corner does indeed come Matthew Forrest. He is the first one to appear ahead of Javier Perna. That position being swapped around on the final lap. Nicolas Cucatto finishing in 9th. And Martin de Jong heading in towards the bus stop for the final time to round out your top 10. Punches the throttle up through the gearbox and crossing the line to take the checkered flag. Harry Sherwood will very shortly be doing the same. And then we look back a little bit to Chris Pio. I think Chris Pio might have actually ran out of fuel on the run up towards the line. He sat there peeling off towards the outside of the circuit. And will Chris Pio manage to make the line? I don't think he will. No, he stops the car and unfortunately returns to the pit lane. So we will be able to get the results up on screen for you now from race 1 of the 5th round of the championship. Peter Plastow takes a very, very well-driven win, a second ahead of Josef Skulj. Then we get back to Gaston Maceroni rounding out your podium. Chris Roberts and Craig Thompson round out your top 5. Then it's Remko Markiw, Matthew Forrest, Javier Perna, Nicolas Cucatto, Martin de Jong rounding out your top 10. And the final of your finishers is Harry Sherwood. Chris Pio not making it to the line due to a fuel shortage, and Timothy van der Broek retiring early on. But race 1 of the evening completed, race 2 on the way, 25 minutes more of Porsche racing here at Spa. And we will have the highlights on the way to you very shortly. So all the drivers now sat waiting patiently on the grid for the feature race to get underway. You can see just the final couple of drivers taking to the grid, and the safety car will very shortly roll its way forward towards the pit lane. And of course then it's down to the leader's discretion between the safety car off and the green lights to when they want to go. You can see now that is Nicolas Cucatto leading the field away up at the head of affairs in the very, very striking Virtua racing machine. Driver to keep an eye on, Matthew Forrest, currently starting in 3rd place after not the greatest race 1. Lots of damage aboard that car come the checkered flag. But keep an eye out on him to see whereabouts he will end up during this race. We know he's got overall pace in this car. It's just piecing every little bit together. And around Spa, it's quite an unforgiving circuit. But we will very shortly see how everything will play out. So the safety car very shortly peeling its way into the pit lane. There it goes. And we are waiting for, in fact, Martin de Jong to decide when he wants to punch the throttle and lead the field away for the 2nd time this evening. We'll just keep an eye on his car. Of course, we're using the old start finish straight. So round the hairpin we go, round La Source. And then will he punch the throttle here nice and early? Yes, he does. So there you go, up through the gearbox. We go racing here at Spa for the 2nd time this evening. Martin de Jong leading the field away from Nicolas Cucatto. Matthew Forrest sat there in 3rd place in the background. There's a little bit of side-by-side action between Remko Markiw and Craig Thompson. Eventually they work their way single file, as you would want to do. Up Eau Rouge and Radion running slightly wide there. Remko Markiw, Craig Thompson trying to make the most of it. He's got his teammate on the inside of Chris Roberts, changing positions up at the head of affairs. Almost 3 wide now. We are 3 wide. Chris Roberts, Craig Thompson, VRC teammates. They'll have to make sure they don't make contact. Matthew Forrest up into 2nd place. In towards the chicane for the first time. Chris Roberts up into 5th. And Craig Thompson, does he work his way through? No, he doesn't. He's pointing backwards on the exit of the right-hander. And right towards the bottom end of the order. Not 100% sure what happened there, but Craig Thompson with a little bit of rear end damage, either being taken out or turned across somebody there. Not 100% sure what's gone on, but it's still Martin de Jong leading the way. Matthew Forrest sat there in 2nd place, under pressure from Nicolas Cucatto. Javier Perna sat in the wings, just more or less waiting for something to happen. He's sat knocking on the door of a podium. Anything goes wrong up the front, he will get those places. Chris Roberts, like I say, sat there in 5th place, just behind Remko Markiw. Then it's Gaston Maceroni. Peter Plastow down in 8th. Then it's Josef Skulj, followed by Timothy van der Broek, Harry Sherwood, Chris Pio, and the recovering Craig Thompson in the background. So now heading through the long left-hander, it's Matthew Forrest up the inside. Is he going to take the lead? They're still side by side, running wide all over the runoff. Not only Martin de Jong, but Nicolas Cucatto behind. Matthew Forrest, he will have the outside for the first part of the bus stop, the inside for the second. And will they manage to remain 2 by 2 through here? Yes, they do, but it looks like Martin de Jong can carry the superior momentum, but doesn't get great drive off the corner. They're still side by side. Matthew Forrest crossing the line, fastest lap of the race, and he is in the lead as they cross the line. There's nothing to pick between them. On the run up to La Source, it looks like de Jong's later on the brakes. Yes, he is. Matthew Forrest back down into second place, gets a good run out of La Source. Now, down the hill we go towards Eau Rouge. Matthew Forrest looking to the left, looking to the right, can't quite find the move as of yet. Of course, he'll have the draft assistance all the way down the Kemmel Straight, through Eau Rouge, over the top of Radion. And now onto the Kemmel Straight. Chris Roberts looking to pick up fourth place in the background. But towards the chicane we go. All of the cars flying towards us. Matthew Forrest jumps out of the draft. It's going to be 3 wide again, almost in the background. But Matthew Forrest up into the lead. He loses the tail end of the car, spears across the road, catches Martin de Jong. Nicolas Cucatto could take the lead here. It looks like he might. But Martin de Jong returns to the circuit. I think with a slowdown, but he's sat in second place, make that third, possibly fourth now, because Javier Perna's worked his way by. So too has Remko Markiw. So right the way down to fifth place. A mistake from Matthew Roberts. Matthew Forrest on the brakes. Meant that he was pointing backwards and into the side of de Jong. Inheriting the lead, Nicolas Cucatto. Chris Roberts up into second place. Javier Perna now in third. However, he is under pressure from Remko Markiw. Martin de Jong recovering from that incident. Matthew Forrest sat there in sixth place. Peter Plastow still in seventh. Gaston Messeroni in eighth with damage aboard his car. Then it's Harry Sherwood, Timothy van der Broek with Hoskudge looking up the inside. Can he get the move done? Not quite as yet. And then you can see Craig Thompson trying to recover. He's managed to get past Chris Pio in one of the Apex Tech cars. But at the moment, Timothy van der Broek doing what he can to get past Harry Sherwood. It's getting close up the road once again. So Javier Perna, whilst he's only just got third place, under pressure from losing it already, heading in towards the bus stop. This has been a lap of just pure battling. It's now 4 cars all fighting over the final step of the podium. A great camera angle there on the run up towards the bus stop. Who's going to be later on the brakes? They're almost 2 by 2. Javier Perna on the inside. Remko Markiw trying to go all the way around the outside. A little bit of contact once again, I think, between Martin de Jong and Matthew Forrest. But Matthew Forrest does manage to get a good run off the corner. He's now sat in 5th place. He's got past the Stage 1 racing machine, or has he? There's still an overlap. There's a little bit more contact there again, just door-to-door contact. Into La Source. Chris Roberts, fastest lap of the race. Round the outside, Matthew Forrest gives it a go. Back towards Eau Rouge we go. We're side by side, almost in the background again, between Peter Plastow and Gaston Messeroni. But eventually, Matthew Forrest, he gets in front and secures 5th place, albeit for only a couple of corners, because down the Kemmel Straight, the draft assistance, once again, a massive part in this race. Martin de Jong, does he get a slowdown? Yes, he does. Over the top of Radion, used a bit too much curb on the inside. And that means any chance of another position down the Kemmel Straight is very, very quickly dissipated. Remko Markiw now looking to the inside of Javier Perna. There you go. Remko Markiw up into 3rd place. Matthew Forrest trying to make it 4th. A little bit of contact between himself and the Virtua Racing driver. But he does manage to get out of that move just in time. Looks to the inside, then looks to the outside. Pete Plastow just sat behind. And for the moment, fingers crossed, it's slowly starting to calm down. So this time on the brakes in towards the bus stop. You've got Martin de Jong under pressure once again. This time from Hoskudge just up the road. Got Timothy van der Broek pointing the wrong way, spearing across the circuit. Can he get going once again? Yes, he can. More oversteer, yet more oversteer. So something's not quite right mechanically with that car. Timothy van der Broek in towards the pit lane by the looks of that. Sorry, Martin de Jong in the pit lane. But it looks like VDB now quite a way down the order, right the way down in 12th place with a lot of time to make up. Pete Plastow trying to work his way past Javier Perna. Can he do it? Side by side over Radion we go. And he loses out to Gaston Messeroni. So the Virtua Racing drivers somewhat helping each other. But Pete Plastow, he will have the inside and the draft assistance of the car in front. So it looks like he will hold on to 6th place for the moment. And a slowdown potentially for Javier Perna, which is why he pulled right the way over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Pete Plastow now in 5th place. Matthew Forrest still in 4th. Chris Roberts, he's desperately trying to get past Nicolas Cucatto for the lead. But with 8 minutes of the race gone, there's still plenty of time for the complexion to change. So now going into the final 5 minutes of the feature race, there's not been too much to shout about. The lead gap has been ebbing and flowing between sort of 0.2 of a second and a full second. This time we're seeing the drivers separate in towards the second margin. There's 3/4 of a second separating Nicolas Cucatto and Chris Roberts. The mid-pack slowly getting closer, and as is the general makeup of these races, the final couple of minutes is where the race really starts to close up. So still with 4 minutes of the race remaining, which will equate to around about 2 laps, I'm sure we've still got lots of action to pack in. So we are now on the final lap of the race. The leaders are getting closer. It looks like Chris Roberts in the background. He had a look to the inside, a look to the outside. He was later on the brakes. Can he make it work? The final lap of the race. Are we going to see a change for the leader? He's been waiting all race long. A flick of oversteer on the exit, but then back down the hill. He will be able to carry the momentum around the outside. Who's going to be later on the brakes? And who can carry the momentum all the way around the outside? There's almost big contact between the pair of them. Nicolas Cucatto locked up, runs wide. Chris Roberts left with nowhere to go. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. Pete Plastow, he's now back in the running potentially for a win if we see a mistake up towards Nicolas Cucatto. But down the hill we go. And at the moment, it could be a VRC 2-3-4. So great points for the championship. But Nicolas Cucatto, with that slight mistake, it's almost saved him a little bit of time, and it gave him a bit of breathing room heading into the final few sectors of the Spa circuit. Of course, we're now at the halfway point in the season, so this is where we can slowly start to paint a picture of who's going to be in the running for the championship come, 5 rounds' time. We head to Road America next time out, so another fairly fast open circuit. Lots to look forward to, as always, in the virtual racing compound Porsche Super Cup. Pete Plastow really wide on the exit of Stavelot 2. But it looks like Nicolas Cucatto, barring any mistakes, has somewhat got this locked up. But Chris Roberts, if he can get a good run through here, it will stand him in good stead for the braking zone of the bus stop. And now on the brakes for the final time. In towards the bus stop, Chris Roberts, he's having a big look around the outside. Can he make it work? I don't think he will. So Nicolas Cucatto to the line, the feature race win goes to the Virtua Racing driver, Chris Roberts, in a very close second, and Pete Plastow not too far away in third. Matt Forrest will come to the line to finish in fourth. A good recovery drive from him. Host Sculge will finish in fifth. Remko Markiw towards the line to finish in sixth. Javier Perna, an unfortunate race for him, will finish in seventh. Harry Sherwood in eighth. Timothy van der Broek, after it was looking so good until that mistake, finishes in ninth. Craig Thompson down in 10th. Chris Pio coming towards the bus stop now. On the brakes, and a little bit of a lock-up from the Apex Tech number 9 machine, but out of the final corner for the final time comes Chris Pio, taking 11th place. Gaston Messeroni, whilst a fair few seconds adrift, around about 20 seconds away from the car in front. He is still going to take the flag. The last of our runners finishing in 12th place. Martin de Jong, after it was looking so good towards the start of the race and even towards the midpoint, a slight mistake from Matt Forrest dropped him down the order, and then he won't end up taking the flag after the car was entered into retirement. But we do have the results from the feature race coming up on screen now. Nicolas Cucatto took the win. Chris Roberts on the second step of the podium with his VRC teammate alongside, finishing third. Matt Forrest in fourth. Host Sculge fifth. Remko Markiw sixth. Javier Perna seventh. Harry Sherwood in eighth. Timothy van der Broek ninth. And Craig Thompson rounding out your top 10. Then it's Chris Pio and Gaston Messeroni, the last of your finishers, and Martin de Jong, unfortunately, not taking the checkered flag. But that was round 5 of the virtual racing compound Porsche Super Cup here at Spa. A brilliant sprint race, an eventful feature race. Lots to look forward to in the final half of the season. We go to Road America next time out, so make sure you tune in for that one. And the championship is only getting closer, so you really do have to keep an eye on this series. We may still have more drivers joining us towards the latter stages of the season, but going off this evening, we say it every single time, the championship, it's only going to get closer.